So we plan and we plan and we plan. And we have everything in place for where we think we are headed. We've thought through all the what ifs and the what fors, and we are prepared. And then something comes along that throws all that preparation and planning out the window. And we have a choice in that moment. We can continue to go along as if nothing has changed, spinning our wheels in denial. We can turn around and try and return to another point in our lives that is more familiar, as in an effort to stop time. Or we can face reality and realize that we are at a crossroads and need to take another way, another road. We always have a choice, no matter how unpleasant the alternatives may be. We always have a choice. January 4th of 2020, we gathered in our community room to celebrate the beginning of our 275th anniversary year. And we were so excited about the year we had planned. We had monthly lectures on our pastors and treasures in the archives and the impact of our congregation in the community and beyond. Activities that were going to be held in concert with the city's 275th anniversary. We were looking forward to welcoming our German partners in July and having a big German picnic and service. And then there was going to be a big homecoming Sunday when we were hoping that friends from the past were going to come and join us. And we had a spring tea planned, and then this big gala dinner in December when we were going to unveil an updated copy and version of our history unto us. And then March came. And the 275th Anniversary Committee debated and debated and debated how we could stay on the road, how we could preserve all of this hard work for the 275th anniversary. But as you know, we had to take a different road. There was no going back. There was no way we could do anything we had planned. And so we changed our plans. And we delayed till May. And then May turned into the summer, and we had to face the reality that this virus had won. And the 275 plans would have to be postponed, changed, revised. Such is the case with the Magi, who prepared for a journey to find Jesus. And along the way, they have a meeting with Herod, who is the ruler of Jerusalem. And he's called great because of lots of things he did around the building projects, including building the temple in Jerusalem. But Herod was also a tyrant who ruthlessly eliminated anyone he saw as a threat. Herod sees bad guys wherever he goes. And so even the hint of a king, even a baby, made Herod, the paranoid Herod, want to do something vile. And so when Herod meets with the wise ones for the Magi, and he innocently asks for the location so that the Magi come back and tell him where the baby, the king, is located so that he could go and pay homage, the wise ones were smart enough to know that they needed to choose a different route. They could not come back to brutal, paranoid, reactive Herod because they knew he really wasn't interested in worshiping Jesus. So they changed their plans. We've come through a year when so much of what we thought we knew was challenged and even ridiculed. We've come through a year when the Herods of this world have warped our minds and have convinced too many of us that might makes right, that ridiculing and demeaning others are the means for gaining power. We have come through a year when we've been asked to dismiss reality to ignore science, to ignore facts, even when they are looking at us straight on. We have come through a year when we have avoided family and friends, not because of the virus, but because they held a different opinion about the election. The road we have been on has been rocky and hard, and for some of us, it's just been plain awful. And yet, as people of faith, we are asked to look for where the light shined on that road, even in the midst of the darkness. As we begin our 276th year as a congregation, we can look back and say that even though 2020 wasn't anything like what we had planned, we really did discover new ways of being a congregation. The pandemic forced us to consider how we could expand, how we meet and gather with one another with the use of technology, something we knew we needed to do, but would have taken us years to finally do it. But the pandemic forced us to upgrade our worship experience so that hundreds of people around the country and the world are able to worship with us with such great sound. Thank you to the tech crew for all of that. That would have never happened in this time frame had we not been forced to do it with the pandemic. The pandemic forced us to evaluate truly what makes us a community. We learned those songs in Sunday school that the church is not the building, the church is not the steeple, the church is the people. And you know the old thing where, open the doors and see all the people. But I think we still said, I go to church, and we meant the building. But the pandemic forced us to realize that we are a community no matter where we are located. That our binding together in relationship and friendship goes way beyond these walls, and that people are feeling connected even without being physically present in ways that we could have never imagined. The pandemic changed our plans so much in 2020 that we even had to put a pause on updating the history book, because it's imperative that we put at least an interlude chapter in there about what happened in the 275th year. So thank you to Stacy Collins, who's writing a little bit about what happened during the pandemic. Many of you found light shining in the dark of this past year. Some of you took the opportunity to change careers, which in retrospect you would have said that was crazy to do in a pandemic. Some of you had the choice, some of you didn't have a choice, but some of you are finding new life by having a job that brings you meaning after being in a job that was not fulfilling. When the journey you were on stopped because of the pandemic and you weren't running around to school and work or traveling to all kinds of sports activities with your kids, some of you found a renewed love of cooking. And somehow we managed to have family meals again and survive sitting around the table. Many of us discovered the outdoors and found healing in the fresh air and walking through the forest, paying attention to God's gifts of creation that we had not done for years. Some of you gained hours in your day because you're not stuck on 270 every day. And many of us reconnected with family and friends. And some of us learned a new skill or gained a hobby. A different road is change, and we can choose how we travel on that different road. We can follow light, we can follow hope, we can follow grace. We can stand up to the darkness and look around and say, what can I learn from this? Where can I find light and grace and hope and peace? We can choose that road when it looks like our journey is taking a different path. We know that the journey of life is never easy, that there's switchbacks and twists and turns on that road, and unexpected challenges come our way. And yet we know that those who have gone before us have met those challenges with hope and joy. And we can meet those challenges ourselves in this coming year because we're not alone. We know that we have one another, and we have our God whose love is constant. There is nothing that can happen in this world or on the journey of our lives that God does not share with us. Epiphany reminds us that with God, the journey may not be exactly as we planned, and yet God is with us on that journey, revealing new truths, sometimes new ministries, revealing resilience, and that we can be confident on this walk with God. Epiphany reminds us that with God, the journey may not be exactly as we planned, and yet we can discover new insights into ourselves and new gifts and new blessings from God. The Christ child has come to bring joy and light. This is the treasure that we find. So we can rise in this new year and shine, even knowing that plans may change. But our God never changes in God's love for us. We can confront our own darkness and choose light. We can see light and we can be the light. May we embrace the year ahead, the adventure ahead, the road ahead, knowing that God is with us, shining a light, leading us in light and hope. Amen. Among the many gifts that our church received towards the end of the year were a number of notes from people who have been watching the service since the beginning of the pandemic. And I want to thank you all for taking the time to send your gifts to us, both the financial gifts, but also those heartwarming notes and letters and cards. It gave us a lot of hope to know that all that we've been doing to keep hope alive has made a difference in people's lives. If you have a chance, go on our website and also the ERUCC Facebook page, and you can see a year in the life, and you can see images of the past year. And I have to laugh because we certainly did a lot, even with masks and in a pandemic. And I give thanks for all of those gifts. So thank you for the gifts that you've shared. Thank you for continuing to support ERUCC. Again, you can go to our website at erucc.org and make your gift. And thank you again for the gift of our ERUCC singers who have been so faithful for all these many months.